Salutations. If there's one thing everyone can agree on, it's that there's an awful lot of confusion as to just what exactly is happening in general.
Lord, please just give me a sign. Where are you going with this shit?
Everything happens for a reason, says the hippie. Everything is completely random, says the nihilist. Everything is controlled by God, says the Abrahamic. Everything is fixed and free will is a lie, says the determinist. So, what do the classical philosophers say? They tell us that every action takes place within the auspices of a set of laws, which is projected onto generation from the intellectual sphere. We're not talking about a list of commandments established by a god or enforced with threats.
I will rain hellfire upon you!
We are talking about natural law, the existential framework within which all interactions happen. This is the set of principles by which the universe is cohesively governed. Just by looking around you, it becomes abundantly clear that reality isn't random. Every observable phenomenon follows laws that can be observed, described, and codified. Plato concluded that the proportions of different kinds of atoms in substances determine their properties. Aristotle observed that matter comes to rest in an order based on relative density. Newton described 3 laws of motion that govern interactions between physical objects. Modern physicists have broken down all physical phenomena in terms of 4 fundamental interactions of gravity, electromagnetism, and the strong and weak atomic forces. Likewise, metaphysical interactions are also governed by laws and principles.
Humankind cannot gain anything
without first giving something in return. To obtain something of equal value must be lost. That is Alchemist's first law of equivalent exchange.
One such example is participation, or sympathy, the means by which lower orders possess a relationship with higher orders, such as matter and form. The Hermeticists excellently summarized participation with the phrase, as above, so below, and for them it was the most important law to understand, since it explains the otherwise meaningless connections that exist between disparate things in their systems of alchemy and astrology. Just like everything else, humans are part of the natural system, and natural law also governs human behaviour. The Stoics, who were one of the most popular schools of ancient philosophy, envision the universe as analogous to a gigantic machine, powered by the anima mundi, in which every single thing, from the planets and stars to the smallest grain of sand, is an essential component. Humans and other creatures, both physical and subtle, are cogs in this machine, and our mutual interactions are part of the operation of the whole mechanism. From the traditional point of view, everything has a natural function, the enacting of which is essential to its being. Water is wet, fire is hot, lions eat meat, and humans live socially. Likewise, among individual humans, there is a natural way of being. Some people are born warriors and heroes, some are born priests and philosophers, and some are born farmers and mechanics. Some are male and some are female, some are artistic and some are sporting, and so on and so forth. Look to yourself, and surely you can personally affirm the truth of what I say, that there is some sort of task or operation that comes naturally to you. This is an inherent element of natural law that applies to you personally. Many cultures have a word for this concept of essential nature with regards to natural law. The most well-known is Dharma from Sanskrit, which is found in Hinduism and Buddhism. The word Tao, as in Taoism or Taoism, has the same meaning. In Korean and Japanese, the word is Do or To, as in Shinto. The ancient Egyptians called the concept Ma'at, and saw it as a goddess who bestows order and balance on the universe. As an amazing testament to the endurance of our common Indo-European cultural heritage, the Lithuanian word is Darna. The Old English equivalent is Gecynd. Even our Catholic friend Thomas Aquinas appealed to an inherent natural law regarding human behaviour. I will leave links in the description to a video on natural law according to Hinduism, a video about the topic according to Aquinas, and one on how the word Gecynd is derived. Sri Dharma Pravatika Acharya, in his book Sanatana Dharma, The Eternal Natural Way, summarizes the concept thusly. The denotative meaning of dharma straightforwardly designates an essential attribute of X object, an attribute whose absence renders the object devoid of either rational meaning or existential significance. An existent thing's dharma is that which constitutes the thing's very essence, without which the very concept of the thing would be rendered meaningless. Conscious beings possess free will by necessity, as we have discussed.
I can do what I want.
Therefore, it is possible for a conscious being to intentionally act against its proper nature. This effectively constitutes an attack against the self, and is inevitably disastrous for the individual in question, and probably for those around them as well. This is the primary theme of many Greek tragedies, in which a mortal character tries to rewrite his destiny out of self-deluded hubris, and brings about his own destruction as a result. To our great misfortune, there are many more such tragedies occurring today than there ever were in ancient times, and self-destruction is indeed the primary result.
You betray the law!
This is not the whole extent of how natural law governs human concerns, however. The ancient Greeks and Romans used to consult oracles for advice and information about future events.
You've got mail.
The most famous was Apollo's oracle at Delphi, the same oracle which said there was no man on earth wiser than Socrates, which is what caused him to pursue philosophy in the first place. This was not just a peasant superstition, but something every school of ancient philosophy regarded as legitimate within their respective metaphysical models. Does this mean that there is a great preordained plan in which we are all just puppets being pulled by divine strings?
Now what's the next step of your master plan?
Absolutely not. We can read from the philosophers themselves that their understanding of fate or destiny is much closer to the concept of karma than it is to predestination or determinism. According to Plato, all things take place within fate, but this does not mean that they would all be determined by fate. For fate has the status of a law. It does not say that this man will do this and that man will suffer that. No. Fate says rather that whenever any soul chooses a certain type of life and does certain kinds of actions, such and such consequences will follow. And here from Plato himself: mortal souls, behold a new cycle of life and mortality. Your genius will not be allotted to you, but you will choose your genius. And let him who draws the first lot have the first choice, and the life which he chooses shall be his destiny. The conscious, intentional actions that a logisticon takes during one lifetime result in equivalent consequences in future lifetimes. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. Suffering breeds future suffering. Kindness breeds future kindness. Your destiny is predetermined only by your past self according to natural law. It is the inevitable results of past actions that the oracles used to reveal as future events. Now we see that there is actually no conflict between destiny and free will, and that predestination and determinism are false. Karma, of course, is one of the main principles of Hinduism, Buddhism, and Jainism, but equivalent concepts can be found all over the world. Finally, let's take a look at how the establishment of natural law is symbolized in mythology. According to Thomas Taylor in his essays on the Eleusinian and Bacchic mysteries, water or mud is symbolic of physical matter in general. The battle between a sky or thunder god, representative of the superior spiritual nature, and a sea serpent that personifies the material nature, is an extremely common legend across the world, particularly in Indo-European and Semitic cultures, but also as far-flung as Japan. In many versions of this legend, the planet Earth is made from the corpse of the sea serpent or an analogous titanic being. Generally, the serpent or dragon is a being of chaos, though not necessarily evil. The heavenly god-king defeating the primordial chaos dragon represents the divine natural law being projected onto the lowest sphere of generation, and creating a universe with a transcendent order and structure. This type of legend is so common that it even has its own generic name: Chaos Kampf. It is even reflected in Abrahamic religion, which is of course derived from an older, natural Semitic religion. According to the Bible, the initial state of the physical universe is described as water, and God is described more than once as fighting a sea dragon called Leviathan.
Just like the Bible says.
Now, in light of this traditional understanding, perhaps you can look to your own life experience and see how natural law has mediated it, and maybe see if you can use this knowledge to help you, or to better come to terms with things you can't control. Either way, thanks for watching, and have a nice day. The Hermeticists excellently summarized the part... The Hermeticists accidentally summarized it this way.